Hey, what is up everyone? It is the Alpha J of the Alpha J Show, and today we're going to be talking about NinjaGo. It is a request from this person here in my initiative to start taking more requests. So let's get this out of the way now. My request video is the only place I take requests because I'd rather take requests from one video and not 100. It will always be in the description of this video and all of my future videos. If there's a heart next to your comment within a few weeks, that means I've written it down. If there isn't a heart, that means I haven't gotten to it yet. If I don't want to do it, then I'll delete it. Also, as you can see, I'm not too big on movies, so unless you want to wait some time, it's probably not the best option to request something as big as that. But let's get on to NinjaGo. I've seen this cartoon while it was on Cartoon Network, and I don't remember having too many problems with the show. In fact, I remember liking the show. And no, it has nothing to do with the fact that there's a person named Jay on the show. This show is interesting, and I want to show you why with the pilot. And if you're new here, remember the rule about story-driven shows. I usually like to start at the beginning. So let's check out Way of the Ninja, which is a very cliche title for any show about ninjas and the like. Yes, naming your episode Way of the Blank usually gives off the vibe that you're trying to go for, but at the same time, it's also overused to the point where it's a cliche. But let's begin. So my art shout out for the video is this art piece here. I found it on Twitter on my feed and I thought it was so great. I love the floral design, I love the background, and I really think you should check out this artist. It will be in the description below. Also, these comments here as my comment shout out. I've been getting a lot of really long ones and I do like to take the time to reply back in a really long message. But besides that, let's get into the review. So we start off in this small village with an older gentleman approaching it with some intention of looking for something or someone. I do like how the village as a whole does have that Lego feel without it being too blatant. It's not shoving the fact that it's Lego in your face, and that smooth integration really helps with pushing Lego related shows to be taken in the same light as some other shows on the network. We have this young man here named Kai making a sword, or making one of those bendable rulers that people used to slap each other with in 6th grade.
You made it too quickly, Kai. Be patient. If Father was still here, he'd say,
I know. No matter how much fire you have, experience isn't something you learn overnight.
Isn't that also a cliche? The son that's had a lot of quotes from his father down to the point of identifying them off of memory. But anyway, the older man approaches and acknowledges his impatience and rude attitude with his sister.
You're a long way from finding a ninja in these parts, old man. And the shop is called For Weapons, not For Browsing. Either buy something or go peddle your insults somewhere else.
If I was the older man, I would shove that staff so far up his butt that he'd be singing the Lego National Anthem. Kai, more like Kai Bob, because that's what I'm going to be selling once I'm done with him. Also, isn't that arrogant younger gentleman calling the other person old man also a cliche? It's one of those moments where in your head, if you've seen this tons of times before, that's the person who gets humbled in the end. And I'm all for giving kids tons of hints, even if it could be a bit much, but you don't always have to be so paint by numbers about it. But nonetheless, the exchange here is pretty solid, and I appreciate that. We have the ominous darkness take over the small village they were at, and the lighting here seems mediocre. I'm not sure why, but the feel I get when the village turns dark is not the same feeling I get from other professionally made animated shows. But nonetheless, the scene is the beginning tension, and I do like how within 2 minutes we're seeing some action. This is Samukai and the cliche bumblehead henchman duo. They appear to be looking for a map and attack the village. I do like this because it shows a natural reason why Kai would later get involved and the villains aren't necessarily after Kai. He just so happened to be a part of something beyond what he thought he knew, but his arrogance, which was previously established in the episode, combined with something I'm going to talk about soon, is what drives the plot. You'll soon notice that the action here is different. Personally, I don't consider it bad, but at the same time, I can see why some people would call it lackluster. And because the pilot seems to be more joke heavy, I don't want to bash the show for not having these action heavy fight scenes. There is another cliche with Kai's sister saying, and let you have all the fun when it comes to combat.
Let you have all the fun?
But other than those two setbacks, I actually enjoy this quite a bit. It's not necessarily on the levels of a Teen Titans Go or Mighty Magiswords or Uncle Grandpa, but this show wasn't necessarily going to make the headlines in terms of primetime lineup, really anyway. Samukai has Kai down for the kill, but the old man, now identified as Sensei Wu, saves Kai. This villain, Samukai, uses the old put someone in danger, so the hero has to inevitably pick the person in danger so the villain can get away, paint by numbers card. And they kidnap Kai's sister, now identified as Nia. So Sensei Wu gives a snide comment to Kai that Kai rebuttals quite quick, and I really enjoy this initial relationship, and I also enjoy how later this progression turned out to be very natural and unexpected, from a new viewer's perspective.
I'm gonna get my sister back.
Where'd they go? A mortal cannot.
Lord Garmadon? Underworld? What's going on? What do we have that's so important to them, and why would they take my sister?
Am I watching an animated show or am I watching a going through the motions grade school play? Because the voice acting from this episode seems to fit both. Your sister was kidnapped. Have some energy. Or, like I said, we can get some energy from the staff if you remember the Kai Bob. So, backstory time. Long ago, NinjaGo was created by the first Spinjitsu master using the 4 golden weapons. The Scythe of Quakes, the Nunchucks of Lightning, the Shurikens of Ice, and the Sword of Fire. When the master passed away, he left his sons in charge of the weapons to guard. But the oldest got corrupted and had to fight with the younger one. The oldest was defeated, being struck down into the underworld. The brother hid the weapons with the guardian to, well, guard the materials in possession. He also gave the map to an honest man who happened to be Kai's father. Surprisingly, said younger brother is not Sensei Wu, but the older brother is Lord Garmadon, the supervillain who hired Seimu Kai to look for said map that his younger brother hid. All caught up? Not too complicated? Alright. So Kai initially declines the offer, opting instead to go for his sister, which is really stupid because if Samukai is taking Naya back to a place where Wu just said mortals can't go, then what exactly is his plan here? If I were Wu, even if I had a follow-up choice, I would let him go because some people just need to see their mistakes. But because Pilot, Kai ends up going with Sensei Wu to rescue his sister together. We get a taste of training with his training montage, one of my favorite moments in this episode. The training goes as so. Kai must finish the course before Sensei Wu has his tea. So as Kai fails and fails and fails this montage, we get the scene where he appears to know the course forwards and backwards. As Sensei Wu is about to make his tea, Kai throws his sword, making Wu have to start over. He gets so upset about the tea and is so bitter when Kai succeeds.
Was that 1 sugar? Or 2? So, am I gonna learn this Spinjitsu I've been hearing so much about?
You already have. Your final test comes tomorrow.
He sounded so much happier when Kai was failing. This is the problem with subpar voice acting. So we get a much better fight scene when these 3 masked ninjas sneak up on Kai. It's also kind of slow in some parts, but it plays up the comedy much better and doesn't jump into being an all-out ambush. Plus, using the course was a nice touch, although the course came up much faster than when it popped up initially. So now Kai, Red Ninja, and Student of Fire is joined by Jay, the Blue Ninja, Student of Lightning, Cole, the Black Ninja, Student of Earth, and Zane, the White Ninja, Student of Water. So they approach this mining site where apparently one of the weapons is rumored to be at. While Cole and Zane all try to come up with a plan, Kai, with his inner fire, goes off without them because he wants to rescue his sister. This entire stealth scene is actually really well done. I actually would argue that it rivals a lot of action comedy shows that you may like that isn't LEGO related. However, to be fair, they use a lot of standard cards like fighting the person who figures it out or hiding under something, but they actually make it interesting and the variations they use really do entertain. Like I said, the comedy seems to be really well done for its targeted audience. Not really amazing or anything to wow, but it's actually really solid, and I appreciate that. So while Kai basically ditched his teammates, they finally catch up as Samu Kai is looking at the map.
What's the matter with you? Shh. It's upside down. They're digging in the wrong spot.
I will admit that got a laugh out of me. The stealth here actually reminds me of something out of Sly Cooper, preferably the part where they all go to Australia. But now that Zane took back the map, they all realize that it was upside down this entire time, and Kai is off again, leaving his team behind.
Hey, before you race off again, you need to remember we're a team.
Yeah, whatever.
I would have let him try to move it himself if he wants to ditch the team, but that's me, and I'm not Jay. However, speaking of Jay, after retrieving the weapon, the Scythe of Quakes, Jay shouts loud enough for them to be caught in another fight scene. The only thing of importance in this particular fight scene is that they finally learn Spinjitsu.
Here comes the dummy!
He just called you a dummy.
No, he called you a dummy.
Well, they all can't be funny now, can they? Anyway, after running these clearly inferior to be inferior henchmen off, remember what I said earlier about there's a guardian of the weapons?
That's not what I think it is it? You mean a dragon?
That sure looks like a dragon.
The design of this dragon is actually really well done. Thinking on his feet, Kai thinks to use a scythe, even though Sensei Wu warned him not to, but he does it anyway. Not only getting out of trouble along with his friends via Spinjitsu, but getting in trouble with his sensei.
I told you not to use the scythe.
Using it was my only option.
And what makes you think you're more important than the team? Huh? Huh?
They took my sister, remember?
Okay, now I definitely know Kai is going to be humbled later down in the series. You're clearly spelling it out here. Typical jerk who nearly compromises the team because of something meaningful but fails to follow the procedure that would have worked because of ego and claiming not to work well with others. This episode, however, doesn't show the consequence of using the scythe. I'm not saying it doesn't ever happen, so spare me the paragraph when/if it does. But on this particular episode, this specific episode, the one I'm reviewing, there's no consequence.
They have learned Spinjitsu, and they have the scythe.
Let them think they're winning.
I do not understand.
Everything is going to plan.
This is pretty much the Slade moment from my Teen Titans pilot episode review. See what I mean when it comes across as paint by numbers at times? And if you're wondering, NinjaGo came out in 2011, Teen Titans ended in 2008. But besides that, Lord Garmadon pretty much is established as the major villain in disguise. Kai is still hard-headed for his sister, and that was NinjaGo Masters of Spinjitsu, Way of the Ninja. The episode was pretty solid. However, if you're more critical when you watch these shows, especially with such a big brand attached to it, especially with such a big brand attached to it, I can see why you may think this is more on the cheap side. It does have flaws, some bigger than others. However, putting those flaws aside, I do recommend you at least watch the pilot. Your time most likely won't be wasted, because even though yes, I do point out the flaws, that's only because I'm looking at it critically. But what do you think of NinjaGo Masters of Spinjitsu? Let me know in the comments down below. Before I get slapped in the back of the head by Jay, make sure to follow me at the Alpha J Show on Twitter for channel updates and your latest and greatest and whatever I'm doing at the time, or my public Discord, or any other social media outlets that I have. All of those will be in the description below, as well as my requested video. If you really like this video, I highly suggest my Teen Titans pilot video, if you want to follow these pilot reviews that I'm doing, or my Cartoon Network playlist in general if you do like Cartoon Network reviews. Make sure to subscribe and feel free to consider my Patreon. As always, I hope your time is well spent, and Alpha out.